What you're looking for, everybody here on the whole TV. What you're looking for, whoa, welcome to the whole TV. What you're looking for, you can find it here on the whole TV. What you're looking for, what you're looking for, you can find it here on the whole TV. What you're looking for, whoa, welcome to the whole TV.
Set I'm free, y'all. Set I'm free, y'all. Set I'm free, y'all. Yes, I am. Set I'm free, y'all. Set I'm free, y'all. Set I'm free, y'all. Ooh. Yes, I am. Help me do this. Jesus, keep me near the cross. Oh Lord, that's a precious fountain, and it's free to all. I know that's old school. Land stream, it flows. Oh, have mercy. From Calvary Mount. Near the cross, I'll watch and wait. Near the cross, I'll watch and wait. And wait. Hoping, trusting ever, I'm whole. Hoping and trusting ever, stay. The golden strand till I reach the golden strand, the golden strand. Where is it, Dewey? It's just beyond the river, just beyond the river. My raptured soul shall find what you're looking for, Dewey. Rest beyond the river, rest. I don't hear nobody. Beyond the river, I know that's old school. I know that's old for some of y'all. One more time. Oh, keep me near the cross. Yeah. Y'all help me say it. Near the cross. Soul shall find rest beyond the river, rest beyond the river, beyond the river. I want you to take a moment where you're standing, if you're in this room or if you're online, if you're in the overflow area.
Well, this is the day the Lord hath made. We're here to rejoice and we're here to be glad in it. Welcome to Biblecast. I'm Dewey. I'm thankful and excited that you're here today. Listen, do me a favor, call a friend, call a relative, an associate, and a neighbor, and let them know that Biblecast is on the airwaves. And we have an incredible session for you on the day. It's going to be amazing. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in, whether it's Apple TV, Roku, Twitch, Amazon, Fire TV, it's YouTube, Facebook, if it's the various websites, if it's WLVO Channel 21 cable TV here in Atlanta. However you're viewing, thank you for your viewership. It means the world to us that you've tuned in. Listen, if you've tuned in through a platform that will allow you to type something in the chat, this is your first time viewing, type number 1 in the chat. Just type a number 1. And that way the members of our Hope Global community will know this is your first time tuning in, and they can appropriately welcome you to our community. We're excited about it. Listen, we're just 18 days away from a new year. We're closing out the year, and it's going to be exciting. Next week, I want to invite you to come and be a part of our annual vision board and vision night here at our church. In the Hospital of Atlanta, December 20th at 7 p.m. We're going to be getting vision boards together for every person who attends, and also sharing with you our vision for the church for the year 2024. So it's going to be an amazing time. So friend, relative, associate, neighbor, you're welcome to come. Listen, we're talking all month. We started the first Sunday of this month talking from the theme labor pains, and it's been an incredible conversation. On Sundays, we're excited about what's happening on Sundays and on Wednesdays, and this week what's going to happen today and tomorrow and Monday and Tuesday in Zoom conversations. And I have with us today our pastor of counseling and community affairs, Pastor Reese Cross. How you doing?
I am well. How are you?
So glad that you're here, and so appreciative for your input and all you do strategically to help us here. To push the ministry forward. You are a major blessing and major asset to the church. Amen. And glad you're here, and glad. I want you to tell people, those who may be watching, who don't know much about your experience. I know that you served our country, and we appreciate you for your service.
Yes, sir.
And the sacrifices you made, and a student, and with a lot of dreams and changes that you went through to get to this point. From the Bay Area, you know, a Warriors fan, but I'm not gonna hold it against you today.
Go
so
Warriors.
Anyway,
and 49ers.
Anyway, back to regular scheduled programming. Just tell people who you are and a little bit about you, so they know more about who you are professionally.
Yes, thank you, Pastor, for having me here today. I am Cerise Cross. I am a mother. I am a wife. I am a daughter. I am a friend. I just love people, and I love God. So I am a servant of the Most High God, Jesus Christ. I believe He is my Lord and Savior. Personally, I love the Warriors and the 49ers. I'm just going to put that out there again. Come on, bang, bang, Niner gang.
Who cares?
Okay. So professionally, I am a licensed professional counselor. I have integrated our faith and even our theology along with therapy. So I believe we need both. And so that's the pathway that God took me in and through, and also connecting with communities. I do have a gift and a passion also for connecting us, the faith community, with local organizations and even global organizations. So I'm excited about where God is taking us and what He's doing in our community.
There's so many incredible partnerships. And that's why I'm so glad you're here today, because people typically, they may see a senior leader, or they may see personality or face. People may see my face. They may watch me preach on Sundays or whatever, as Pastor Smith, whatever. But there are people behind the scenes who really are the engine. And Pastor Cross is one of those persons in our church who has helped us in immeasurable ways in developing partnerships in community and providing resources to people, and really just caring for the needs of people and helping to empower people and creating holistic ministries. And I'm just humbled and honored to be able to serve with you. I really, really am. And your heart for people, your heart for ministry is incredibly noteworthy and powerful. And so it's really an honor. And you've been doing a lot of talking, and you do a lot of counseling here at the church and within our community about this whole thing of grief and loss, and sharing, gleaning from your expertise. I think it's very important that even those of us who are pastors and spiritual leaders, we have to evolve and integrate within the mental health community and even medical communities, because what's happening a lot of times, for a long time in the African American community, the pastor was the one all for everything.
Yes,
one size fits all. And unfortunately, that paradigm is unhealthy, and it does not present the best version of the church. I, as a pastor and through wisdom, can offer spiritual guidance and advice, but I've taken 3-4 counseling classes my whole life. I'm not a licensed counselor. God gives you revelation and insight, but some things you need professionals who've been trained in this regard. And I want to just encourage pastors, you don't have to do it all. There are partnerships and others who have an affinity, a passion, and a gift for this, and training in this. And our people have complex issues and very complicated realities that requires a certain level of specification and training. And that's why I'm glad you're here, because I want people to see what you're doing. And I know last week we were talking about this whole thing of grief. I introduced it for the month, grief and loss, and you shared with me and sent me notes that dealt with the 3 levels of stress last week. And I just don't want to assume that people who are here today were watching last week, but I think it's a great reality to kind of help people unpack who they are and what they may be feeling. Because sometimes if I'm in it, if I don't know what I'm feeling, I don't know how to deal with it. And I think that's very important that we just review that again, like those 3 levels of stress. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So we first have acute stress, and that's our daily stress. You talk about it all the time, Atlanta traffic. And if you've been in any kind of traffic around here, if you've been on the streets any time this holiday season, you probably experienced that acute stress.
Absolutely. No doubt about that.
So that's just acute stress. But if not, just thinking about your children, maybe you have children at home you have to pick up, you have to cook, you have to manage your schedule. So that may cause some stress. That's daily stress. We have stress at our jobs. Those are daily stresses that we have. That would be what we call acute stress. Then there's something called chronic stress. And that is where the stress is ongoing. There's never a break. So I wake up with stress. I go to sleep with stress. The problem with stress is that stress is a response to a fear or a response to danger. And so when I experience that response in my body is now going into survival mode, because our brain is designed to keep us alive. And so anything that changes means that there's a threat to me.
That's a good description that I've never heard you say. Stress is a response to fear or danger.
Yes.
And our brains are designed to keep us alive.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So if there is a stress response, and that could be good change. That's why change isn't so hard, because my brain's saying, wait, that's not how we normally do it. And that might hurt us or kill us. So we can't do that.
Wow.
So all of us who procrastinate or don't do things, it's that response, and we got to get to the root of what's going on there.
That's good.
So there's that stress, and then there's just traumatic stress, and that could be just brought on by different kinds of trauma. So those are our stressors that we experience.
So you got acute stress,
hmm
and we have chronic stress
Yeah.
and traumatic stress.
Yeah.
And it's important to know all those things because you don't want to make acute stress
Yes.
feel like it's traumatic, or
Yeah.
acute stress you just feel like I'm losing it, and it's just responding to traffic.
Right.
You know what I mean? Once you get out of traffic, then that's you know what I mean. People have road rage, they want to shoot and kill folks and go off. You're in traffic. You know what I mean? You just a little patience and not blowing the horn, because in this day and time, you blow the horns at people in Atlanta,
Yeah.
you don't know what you may get back in return. So it's just being able to navigate that in that moment, and don't make it worse. I mean, because right now they're even doing things now where they turn their lights off. Some of these gang initiations,
Mhm.
and they're driving at night. And when you turn your lights on to flash them to let them know their lights off,
Yeah.
that means that you're the one that they're coming afterwards. So just so much is happening right now. So being able to compartmentalize those things that she just said is very, very important. Acute stress, chronic stress, traumatic stress.
Yeah.
And you've been dealing with a lot of people with grief
Mhm.
and loneliness.
Yes.
And you said something that was just very powerful about the United States Surgeon General's office
Mhm.
relative to loneliness. I want you to engage that for me.
Yes. So now the U.S. Surgeon General has put out a study. They've done their report, and there was over 148 studies that have been done over a span of 7.5 years that says that there is a 50% survival rate for those who are socially connected. It's an increase of a 50% survival rate for those who are socially connected.
Mm.
So if we're not socially connected, there's a 50% chance that we're not going to survive.
Wow. Social connections
Mhm.
increase the survival rates by 50%.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
the power of community and connection.
Yes.
Did you hear that? Those people who, I can do bad by myself,
Mhm.
and, I don't trust nobody. And, we develop these walls where we don't want to let people get in close because somebody hurt you.
Mhm.
And you don't realize the older you get, you need friends and community. And I think that's very, very important. God designed us
Yes.
to be in community. Even God created the world in community.
Yes.
Let us make man
Yes.
in our image. So I think that's a very good point. I want you to talk about as you know, and you've said so many helpful things to people. And as I've been navigating my process of going through major deaths with
Yes.
very, very important people in my family, and trying to be vocal about that to normalize conversations and the humanity around that. I want you to kind of vet through so that we're clear on the different nuances regarding grief and mourning, because sometimes it's all lumped together.
Yes.
So can you help us kind of distinguish the differences?
I first appreciate you, Pastor, because you use every platform that you get to express your grief and to show us that it's okay, that we can still talk about our mama. We can still talk about our sister. It doesn't matter. So I love that you use your platforms to express that grief is a process, and I can grieve too. We as pastors, as leaders, we grieve. We have feelings and emotions.
Yes.
So I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, because I think what I want to do is normalize those conversations and not spiritualize
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
use
Yeah.
faith as a Band-Aid or a catch-all to act like pain is not real, number one.
Yes.
Number two, I want to have these conversations because I did not handle that moment in my life in a healthy way. I made some decisions that affected me, that affected my family, that affected my community, that I'm still navigating through. And when you're dealing with that grief and you just need something to, you don't know what you feel sometimes. And I was so busy trying to be a preacher and be the pastor that I never was a son. I didn't allow myself to be a brother. And sometimes you would look to any and everything to try to anesthetize that pain.
Yes.
But I really couldn't I didn't know how I felt. And then I just sank so low. And but in the name of Jesus, I'm showing up to preach on Sundays.
Right.
And so that's why I want to have those conversations, because in grief and when you're unhealthy and you're not mentally or emotionally well, how you respond can make things better or make things worse. And unfortunately for me, I had a response that made things worse. And I'm just grateful that God is loving and patient and how to get out of those unhealthy things. So thank you for what you shared, because it's helped me to deal with my own process. So talk about those different things so we don't commingle everything under one term.
Yes. So there are, first we always say grief, and then we'll say mourning, and we'll say bereaved or bereavement.
Yeah.
And those are 3 different terms. So
Wow.
grief is our response to loss. That's the response that we have to loss.
That's
and good. To anything. Last week you mentioned it's not just a person. I can grieve losing my dog, my cat. I remember I had a dog named Tigger. He got hit by a drunk driver.
Let me tell you something.
To the day.
Listen, when you lose a pet, and when you love pets,
come on.
My Andre won't even let me get a dog because of a pet that died when she was in high school. See? So we go, and I love dogs, so I can't bring a dog inside the house because of that. You know what I mean? Because it's triggering. It's because of a member of the family.
That's
you know,
right.
we think people who don't have pets think they think they're crazy.
Listen,
yeah.
Tigger was a part of our family.
Wow.
To this day.
Wow.
I miss him.
Wow. And that's something.
So yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
That's
though.
good.
So we commingle all those terms. That's grief, mourning. It's the outward expression of grief and loss involving physical expression. So our funerals, when we have a funeral, that's a process of mourning, or a task, not a process, but a task of mourning.
A task.
And so Kubler-Ross talks about the stages of grief, and we'll talk about those. And then there's another person, not getting the name right now, but he talks about the task of mourning.
The task.
The task of
Can you unpack that?
Yeah.
It's a task.
Yes. And so now these are all different processes. Doesn't mean that we have to use them.
Yeah.
Because even with grief, let me just back up. Grief is unique. It is totally unique. So how you grieve, Pastor, is going to be totally different than how I grieve.
Yeah.
And we could be grieving the same person.
Absolutely.
But have different responses.
That's so true.
And so the task that is spoken of are different areas where you need to go through these processes in order to come through this process of grief.
But just the word task for me is interesting because not process.
Yeah.
Task is almost like a job.
Yeah. Doesn't it feel like it?
So what you're saying is when I'm going to the funeral to mourn, sometimes, you know what, it's interesting you said that, because one of our members, I was very close to her. She passed away about a year ago. And her daughter didn't come to the funeral. I was amazed because I talked to the daughter the whole time, making funeral arrangements. Of course, it was during COVID. She didn't come. And I was that hurt me nearly as much as her mother's death. Son came, we talked through it. She didn't come. And what she did, I guess, handling her grief, she began to fight all the family members in the process. It was almost like a response. She had to do something else to prevent her from doing the task.
Yes.
Because doing the task, I need to show up.
Yes.
Nobody likes the word task.
No.
I have never heard that putting the program together.
Yeah.
Getting the photographs.
Sure is. That's a part of it.
Writing the obituary. This is not a job. This is not enjoyment.
No.
But it's necessary.
Because what she was doing was avoidance. There was a little avoidance there. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because and that could be coupled with denial, right?
Okay.
So if I don't go, I don't have to see.
Yes.
And if I can take that energy and fight everybody else versus dealing with my own pain and hurt right now, then I don't have to deal with the quote unquote task of mourning. So I don't got to deal with that.
So the task, it may not feel good. but you and I have to go through that task and that process. And for me, I think for me, it was about trying to, and he said, pay my last respects,
Mm-hmm.
or send mama out in style,
Mm-hmm.
or to make sure this service is befitting of her life and her legacy. And so trying to bring about a tribute or an honor for the deceased, for the loved one,
Mm-hmm.
is a thing that gives you strength to make it through the task.
That's right. That's right.
That is so doggone good, Pastor.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
But that's so, because I had never heard that like that until you just said it. And I think when you think on those terms, because what I've discovered, grief and loss brings out the best in families and the worst in them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
And I think
All day
sometimes,
long.
and we end up going at each other because we can't handle the emotions of
We
it.
can't handle
But
it. That's right.
but we're responsible. Everybody should be responsible for the task.
That's right. And it's controversial, but some people like it, some people don't. But I want to highlight that task of mourning is another way that we can look at grief process. Because Kubler-Ross, if we go back to Kubler-Ross and those 5 stages of grief, he was talking about the person who was dying.
Wow.
So originally, when we talk about those 5 stages, denial, I'm not really dying. He was talking about dying. He wasn't talking about living.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So although we do have denial when that person died, it still was for the dying.
Wow.
And so what do we do for the living? And that's a whole nother, we'll have to have a whole nother talk about dying.
That is so, that's why Martha was mad at Jesus.
Yes.
Lord, if you had Brent here,
well,
my brother would not have died. We buried him, but you didn't go through the task of mourning with us. That is such a profound concept that I think can bring help. That can bring healing to families. Just that concept itself. Yes. We have to go through the task of mourning. It's a task. It's a task. And so whatever our feelings are about each other, whatever, we have to go through this to get. That is something I can think. I believe that concept. That's so good. Keep going. That's deep.
And when you said that, you just brought me to siblings.
Yes.
And family dynamics.
Yes.
How I grieve again and how you grieve.
Right.
We may not go through that process. We can go through it together. Right. But it's going to be on different times and wavelengths. Yes. So don't get mad at me.
Right.
If I'm doing me.
Right.
And how I'm doing what I'm doing.
Exactly.
And if you don't want to process it, I'm going to give you your space.
Right.
But I got to process this on my own.
That is so good.
But that's how we get into all that friction.
But it's the specific color, the crying, the praying, attending the wakes, the funeral, all of the planning. Yes. That's a part of the task of mourning. That's is part so doggone good. That's explosive. Thank you. That's one of them. Keep going.
So that's mourning.
Yes.
And then bereavement is the period or state of grief.
Okay.
And so after experiencing the death of a loved one. So that's that immediate state that you're in, that bereaved state.
Bereavement. Okay.
And so then we have the types of grief.
Okay.
So there are different types of grief. Anticipatory grief. You don't talk about that a lot.
That's true.
But it is produced when we are expecting something to happen that we know is going to hurt us deeply.
Wow.
While it has not yet happened, we're already suffering.
Anticipatory grief.
Yes. Already suffering, knowing it's going to hurt us deeply.
Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Yes, sir.
Father, if it's possible.
Yeah.
My soul is exceeding sorrowful unto death.
Come on.
That's never heard it term before.
You can also look at this for family members who are walking with someone who has dementia.
Yep.
Late stage dementia.
Yep.
Like you said, you had a friend.
Yep.
That you knew.
Yes. I'm 60.
And now he's not who he was.
Absolutely.
In that state. Yep. And so it's that feeling. That's anticipatory grief. It's the loss of who that person was to me.
Yeah.
Not was to me. I don't want to say it that way.
I know
but that connection.
Yeah.
It's that, wow, this is not what it was.
It's strange you said that because my son is 12th grade and he's going to college in August. And I'm already anticipating his absence.
Yes.
For the first time, nobody's going to be in the house.
That's right.
And while I'm excited about his growth and him going to college. I'm already feeling a certain type of way about his graduation, and that's grief too.
Yes, it is. It's
Never thought about it in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, I'm being empty nest. But
yeah.
Wow,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
that's so good.
Yeah,
that's so good. Keep going.
And when we think about we can talk about empty nesting, but that is a form of grief that we don't highlight.
Right.
And so now we're together and we're both grieving, and we think it's each other. When no, we are both grieving the life that was.
Wow.
And now, what does this new life look like? We don't get to that because we're so busy blaming each other.
Lord have mercy.
About what we don't have, but we haven't really dealt with the thing.
Yeah, I'm looking at this boy like you 18 now.
Yes.
You're going to be leaving in a minute and feeling some type of way, not really parsing it. Really, that's what she just said, anticipatory grief.
Yes, it is.
Never heard of it like that.
Yes, okay. It is. Complicated grief, that's debilitating or intense grief that interrupts your whole life. You can't even get out of bed for months, maybe.
Yeah.
Not just days, because again, we're going to talk about normalizing and what's normal.
Yeah.
If I don't even like to use the word normal, but just the process that
Right.
our body goes through.
Right.
But it's where it dominates everything.
Gotcha.
So that's complicated grief. And then disenfranchised grief. This is where we talked about getting laid off or a pet loss, where people would diminish somebody and say, oh, that's nothing.
Right.
That fur baby,
Right.
that's a part of our family.
Right.
So how can you say that's not, that's disenfranchised?
Right.
Or it could be someone that you knew, a coworker.
Right.
Not being able to mourn them like you could or want to because their family is mourning them, but they don't want you there for whatever reason. Maybe you're at odds with a family member and you have not reconciled for whatever reason and they pass away.
Yeah.
But you're not allowed to go to the funeral. And we've heard where people are not allowed to come to the funeral.
Yeah.
That's disenfranchised grief.
Disenfranchised grief.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Disenfranchised grief. Man. I have seen people laugh at people who had a pet. You know, another thing that was interesting, I didn't realize this as a leader. When I came to this church 20 years ago, I started preaching here in December of 2003, so it's been 20 years. And the first few months were so explosive, the first few years. And the growth was exponential. And yet some of the people who have been here, preceded me years, you saw new people, younger people who had immense excitement. People who were here, a good number of them were not sharing the excitement. And it was a challenge for me because I'm like, the church is growing, it's filling up, we're 2 services, souls are being saved, we're baptizing, young people are coming. Why aren't these people excited? And it took me a while to realize while I was celebrating, they were grieving.
Yes.
The church, as they once knew it, was no more.
Yes, that is so good.
The place they used to sit, now they knew that I sit in the same seat every week. I park in the same parking space every time. Now, somebody's gotten to church before me and is sitting in my seat. Where I even have letters upstairs right now from visitors who say, I never come back here because people come to me and say, you're in my seat.
And it wasn't even about the seat.
It wasn't about the seat. And I think a lot of times new leaders, pastors, get into tension and fights with the established congregation because you think they're against you.
Yeah.
But what you just said is disenfranchised grief.
Yes, it is.
And not giving that organization and those persons a moment to understand it's not personal. Everything they once knew is different. And I think we can exacerbate that by pushing it. I remember one time in that same context, I directed music to Jimmy Terrell. I had to get him he had the choir in that same time to sing a song. Here's the name of the song. What's to come is better than what's been.
Wow.
I said, don't you ever sing that song
Oh
again.
my goodness. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's our first service. What's to come is better.
No.
So you got people.
It's like a dagger in my broken heart. My heart's already broken.
My pastor is no more. He's not. So I got a new leader. The church is, and now and so that's a leadership principle. This is not
Yes,
just
that's
grief
right.
and loss.
That's right. That's right.
This is a pastoral leadership principle.
Yes, it is.
Disenfranchised grief.
Yes, it is.
And I just want to highlight that for a pastor who's watching.
That's right.
Stop exacerbating the people's pain
Mm,
and realize they're hurting.
absolutely.
While you're happy,
Mm.
they're hurting.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
and would you do that at a funeral?
And
Would you do that?
that doesn't make any sense.
No.
Wow.
So it's organizational grief.
Organizational grief.
Yeah.
And we're so busy pushing, trying to get somewhere and trying to get the vision across,
Mhm.
trying to progress. And I get all those things.
Mhm.
But when you're in an established organization, there's organizational grief. This is so amazing. As a principle, I don't think we hear this enough.
No.
Disenfranchised grief.
Yes, sir.
That's great. Keep going.
Yeah, it's a whole workshop. It is. There can be trauma and grief.
Yeah.
So with that, we need to ask ourselves, what are the stories that keep coming up for us?
Mm.
So if I am dealing with trauma, or if I'm dealing with grief and I keep ruminating, having
Yeah.
the same thought, what is the story that's coming up? And what are those stories telling me about myself or that person?
Mm.
And in that story, in that place, that's where the trauma lies.
In that story.
In that story, we have to find out where's the trauma in that.
Mm.
Because there can be.
My
Now,
God.
grief can be traumatizing, but doesn't mean that it's always going to be trauma.
Gotcha.
But there is trauma. There can be trauma in grief.
My God. That's good. And so you talked about grief versus mourning,
Mhm.
anticipatory grief, complicated grief, disenfranchised grief. There can be trauma in grief,
Mhm.
but grief does not have to necessarily involve trauma.
Right.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Grief can be traumatizing,
Mhm.
and there's trauma in grief, but grief is not necessarily traumatic.
That's right.
Then that's good. That's good. Now, talk about different types of grievers.
Yeah. So oftentimes we think that men and women grieve differently.
Yeah.
We'll say, oh, he just sits there like a stoic board and he doesn't grieve. He just holds everything in.
Yeah.
When in fact, we're just processing differently.
Yes.
And you could be a man or a woman
Yeah.
and process different when it comes to grief. So there's two renowned authors. Go ahead.
I want to interrupt you for a 2nd I just want, because you said something that triggered me.
Mhm.
That I just want to get clarity on, just for those who are watching. Andre and I lost a child
Mhm.
in 2004.
Yeah.
So she was 6 months
Mhm.
pregnant.
Mhm.
So I didn't know I didn't know what to do with my grief.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm thinking about what you said, the disenfranchised, anticipatory, complicated, and then the two types of grievers.
Mhm.
Because my responsibility, I thought, was to make sure she's good.
Mhm. Mhm.
But it was my child too.
Mhm.
So is that the two types? Is that the disenfranchised, or would that be the complicated?
To me, that's it's both.
Really?
But first, it's disenfranchised
Okay.
because you are a man.
Yes.
Just in general,
Wow.
men have been disenfranchised when it comes to emotions in general
Wow.
because you're socialized. You a boy, you better man up. You ain't no little girl. Don't you be crying.
Mm.
You man up.
My God.
So that's just in general. And our parents did the best they could with what they knew.
Mm.
Okay. But and nowadays, this newer generation, they doing things different.
Yeah.
But you have been socialized and we were socialized that men are tough.
Yeah.
They suck it up. And so we are allowed to fall apart. Some of us. and some black women not, because we got to be strong black women.
That's true.
But so that's the first thing, is that it's her loss.
Yes.
She lost the baby.
Yes.
And you'll hear that. You've heard that a lot, and we've heard that a lot. Where
right.
she lost the baby.
Right.
No, we lost the baby.
Right.
But also, it's both and. It's complicated because, like I said, you both had the relationship with that child. She's carrying the baby in her uterus, in her womb.
Yeah.
But you also are anticipating that this child is going to be ours, and we're going to have this child.
Right.
And I'm the father.
Right.
It's both of you that are grieving, but I don't get a chance to go through my task of mourning because I have to make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
So I just put this away and put it on a shelf somewhere, and every once in a while it'll come up in my life.
My God.
And that's how a lot of men have been working through and journeying through life. And it comes out in various ways.
My God. That is so. I don't know if somebody's watching, but I thought about that when she talked about the two types.
So good.
And I said, I just want to share that so people who are watching, we all, she mentioned the word process. I think it's so important that we are able to put names and identify specific occurrences with these things to help us process, to help us to cope, to help us to manage and navigate in a healthy way. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to throw that in before you got too far gone, because I thought about it. So the two types you said, one who may be expressed, one who does not.
Yes. So renowned author on grief, Kenneth Doka and Terry Martin, describe these different grieving styles, if you will. One is instrumental grief, where it's connected more with men. So that would be cognitive. I think about it. I process it that way. It's more cognitive on how I'm thinking. And then intuitive grief would be how I emote. It's my emotions. They come out. And then those feelings are expressed overtly. And then there's the integrated or blended style, which a lot of people can have. And that can fall anywhere in between that spectrum of being cognitive or instrumental, but also being emotive in my style of grief.
And then you said something can be blended.
Yes.
And then regret.
Yes.
Regret. Talk about that, regret.
So the reason I wanted to bring up regret, as we're trying to go through all the nuances of grief, one of the places, a stuck point, if you will, would be regret.
Yes.
If I would have answered the call, then they wouldn't have, or if I could have taken the needle, or if I could have put the gun away. Proximity does not mean causation. David Kessler says that. I love him. But he talks about grief immensely, and you can go to grief.com. Let me just give his plug right now. So many resources there on grief, but he says proximity does not mean causation. You could not have prevented the death.
My friend, Pastor Teddy Parker, Pastor Bill Mount Zion Baptist Church, he called me 1st of October of 2013. I was on the phone here at the church, as a matter of fact. And I told him I would call you right back. And I say that all the time. Hit you right back. And obviously, I had every intention to do so. And, by the time you hit him right back, something else has happened. You know how sometimes, when you're very busy like I am. This was the 1st of October of 2013. Second Sunday in November of 13. I'm in the pulpit preaching at the cathedral. I got my phone on, man. My phone is buzzing in the middle of my sermon. I'm like, what in the, okay? The boys are there, Andre's there. What is my phone? And it keep buzzing. Anybody who has my number, they know I'm preaching. Phone can be buzzing. So I get through the service, only to discover some of the folks from home were calling me, asking how I seen him and I talked to him. Sunday morning, he was supposed to be going to preach his father-in-law's anniversary in Unadilla, Georgia. And he sent his church, built Mount Zion, on ahead, sent his wife and 2 daughters ahead, and I'll meet you. And went back to his house. He told them to retrieve something. And went back to his house fully dressed in his suit, Bible, sermon next door to him. And right there in his truck, he put his gun to his head and took his life. And I suffered with that causation or regret, wondering, years, what if it's a woman who maybe couldn't have a child or had a miscarriage, that would be the regret.
Maybe I should took my vitamins. Maybe
My
I
God.
shouldn't have worked out. Or
My God.
It's all of those shoulda, coulda, woulda
My God.
that do not mean anything.
My God.
I couldn't. Whatever was going to happen was going to happen.
My God.
It was going to happen.
Proximity does not mean causation.
Not
That
if
is
it's- no,
that is so good.
And we get stuck there.
That is so good.
I could share my husband's father passed last year, and he sent me, and he was having some phone issues toward the end of last year. He passed December of last year, and he was having some phone issues, so his phone would, I guess, lose our numbers, so he couldn't find his son number. He called me one day, and he was like, give me Mike's number, and I gave him his number, and maybe a month before he passed, he had DM'd me on Facebook. I don't check my DMs on nothing.
My God.
I hadn't been checking anything. And he had DM'd me after he passed. Well, I'm sorry. He had passed, but I found the DM
After he passed.
And it said, call me. And I lost it. It took me a while to get back to, how come I didn't call him? What did he want to say to me?
Yeah.
I know, he knew something was going on. And I had to reconcile with that. It's a process.
Yeah. Regret.
It's a process. Like, why didn't I check my DMs? And I just don't check them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's grief and loss. And I think when I flip that coin, I've had those moments, feeling regret. But I think what's even deeper for me is regret. When the moments when there was a loss or pain and my proximity did cause it.
Because it can. Yes. Yeah. My goodness.
To me, that's even more debilitating. Because you just will stay there. You just, and what I've had to process is regret is not an asset to your life. If it was, I would live there. You know what I mean? So, but those moments you try to find everything to blame yourself. This is so healing. Proximity is not the same as causation.
No,
that is good. Keep going. This is so rich.
So our grief is impacted by our personality. And so how we operate, that impacts our grief. The history of losses. And you mentioned earlier, culture and tradition. I wanted to get to there because culturally, we put ourselves in a box when it comes to grieving. We can only cry for so much time. We need to show up the certain kind of way.
Right.
And that's what happens with us. And so I'm happy that we're having these conversations.
Absolutely.
So we can free ourselves.
Yes.
As leaders, as people, everybody, we all need to be free when it comes to going through this process.
Yes.
So
So personality, history of losses, culture, and traditions all impact how we grieve.
Absolutely.
That is so good. One of the things that has been a cultural shift that is very interesting. When I started pastoring in Middle Georgia, when I grew up, at funerals, we typically would wait to allow the viewing of the remains to happen at the end of the funeral. So we celebrate the life, we sing, and we all the remarks and the preaching and the resolutions are read and all that kind of stuff. And then at the end of the funeral is when people walk around to see the body. And something that we now call celebration of life, homegoing celebration, and how that was done in Middle Georgia, and not just then, but in some places now. I've had to across the nation, but it was trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
And so then a shift took place in Georgia, and well, now we're not gonna do it at the end because it's just we're gonna do it at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
show the remains. And my father did something in the 80s I thought which is insane. I still think it's kind of insane, where he just disallowed the body to come into the church at
Oh
all.
wow.
So the body would come. They would show the body in the vestibule of narthex,
Mm-hmm.
and you would see the body out there in the narthex, and you come into the sanctuary, and nobody was up front.
Oh my.
And boy, people went berserk on him, and it was just so abrupt. He's like, they didn't bang about it's not biblical. It's a cultural piece,
Wow.
and he lost members. People went crazy over it, and I think, while I think some of it could have been excessive
Mm-hmm.
because people are already grieving, they have that culture the way they wouldn't do it.
Yes.
I'm understanding more, perhaps the intent behind it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like seeing that body up there.
Yes. Yes.
And I've seen people that want. I've taught people who won't come in church because if they went to a funeral and saw the body up there,
Yep.
I can't. It's the trauma
It's still there.
of
Mm-hmm.
psychologically, and so I understand a little more why he did it. I still don't know if that was the right way, but again, the culture impacts how we grieve, and so I don't like to have a bunch of slow songs.
Yes.
Let it be celebratory and
Yeah.
uplifting, because you want people to be lifted. You want to
Yeah.
grieve, but you want to, that's a cultural thing that I think we got to learn, because that's a good point. That's so
'Cause
good.
we don't mourn as those who have no hope. Right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I really do love our homegoings,
Yes.
because we do task of mourning. You need to come in and you need to feel all the feelings, as we say.
Yes.
You should.
Yes.
You see your mama, daddy, sister, cousin, whoever.
Yes.
You need to feel that.
Absolutely.
And let's go.
Yes.
Do whatever you got to do.
Yes.
And then we're going to give you hope.
Absolutely.
So when we leave out of here, we're lifted.
Want to have some
We should be.
tears, or try to
Yeah.
interject some laughter, perhaps.
Yes.
And some levity, some great memories. And this is another reason why I have a strong disdain
Yeah.
for funerals and there's just open remarks.
Yeah.
Which is anybody who want to get up and say whatever they want to.
Mhm.
No, I specify the people. So we have some type of, because you don't know what some people are going to.
Ooh, boy.
And,
Yes, sir.
and you just can't let everybody. This is my personal opinion. I don't have a Bible verse for this, but I'm talking about the culture involved, because
Yeah.
I think some people make the grieving process worse.
Yes. Oh, I've been to
You understand what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't go for that. I would just rather you specify who's going to speak, so we know, because to me the family's
Yeah.
heart and the
Yeah.
soul of the family members
Yes.
is too valuable
Yes, sir.
to just be up here experiment with who's gonna say something, and
That's right.
it's just it
It's
can be hard to
vulnerable
find.
time.
Yes.
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 No.
Yeah.
We take it serious.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a very vulnerable time. So
Yes.
we have to do it's important. We do great work here, I think, when it comes to how we handle and love the families that come
Yes.
in here. I believe they feel it,
Yes.
and it's just because if you ever had to sit in that seat,
Lord have mercy.
and I've sat in that seat several times,
Lord have mercy.
other places,
Have mercy.
and been a family member, and it just doesn't feel good.
Absolutely.
I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
The task of mourning is good.
yeah.
So that's good, y'all. Personality, history of losses, cultural traditions. So we're gonna close. I want you to close this out today by talking about, how do we journey with our grief?
Yeah.
Because we got so much. We're gonna pick some of this up next week.
We had to come
And
back, y'all.
and we'll get some resources throughout the week. We're gonna put some stuff out on social media, and of course the Zooms on Thursdays, Mondays, and Tuesdays. Tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, lock in. More information is gonna go forth.
Absolutely.
But just talk about that journey with grief. I think that's a great segue to our close.
Yes, good.
Mhm.
How do we journey through grief?
Yes.
We want to bypass pain to get to meaning. That's
My
the first
God.
thing we do.
Woo!
We want to bypass it
Bypass pain.
to get to meaning.
My God.
Why did this happen?
Wow.
God, why did this happen?
Wow.
God's going to tell, I need to know why.
Wow.
So we get stuck at the death
Mm.
and not the life of the person or the life of the job
Mm.
or the life of the friendship or whatever it is. We get stuck at just that moment
That is so rich.
and we stay right there because that pain becomes our friend. It becomes the thing that connects me. It becomes love. Pain equals love.
My God.
And it does
Yes.
to a point.
Yes.
So because I love, and because I love, I grieve.
Yes.
So grief becomes bigger than love. What love has to become bigger than grief.
My God. Yeah, that's a quote I heard.
Yeah.
I think it was Queen Elizabeth said, "Grief is the price we pay for love."
Yes, it is. Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Grief equals love, but love has to become stronger than grief.
Yes.
Mm.
And you talked about earlier, we'll spiritualize it away. That's spiritual bypass. We'll use spiritual things to divert dealing with our own emotions.
Mm.
We'll use spiritual things. So I'm going to use God as because they'll say,
Yeah.
to run from God.
My God. My God.
I need to deal with this.
Mm.
And it's not easy. I don't want to sit with that. There may be some things that were unresolved in that relationship that I haven't dealt with, and I don't want to deal with it.
My God.
But I could fight my family members.
It's funny you said that. Regret.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have seen people who are inconsolable at funerals.
Yeah.
Because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
regret.
Yes, absolutely.
The loved one passed away
Absolutely.
with unresolved issues.
Absolutely.
They didn't get it right.
Mm.
And so the grief you see, the pain you see,
Mm-hmm.
is not directly mourning,
Mm.
is indirectly mourning, but
Mhm.
it's more regret.
It's regret. But now that becomes my grief, which is complicated. Now
Jesus Christ.
I need to work that. I need to work through that with somebody. If you want to get to that stage,
Mm.
because I think we automatically think we got to go see somebody as
Yeah.
soon as we can just talk about a few of the manifestations of grief. But to your point, I'm beating on the casket. I'm crying. I'm fighting everybody
Yeah.
because I said something yesterday, and they passed today, or I know I didn't do what I was supposed to be doing. What do you do with that?
So that's two different things.
Yeah.
So you got to treat the regret
Yes.
and the mourning and
Yes.
the loss
Yeah.
same time. It's complicated.
That's
Jesus
complicated.
Christ.
If
This is so good.
not understanding why somebody died to find meaning.
Mm.
We don't know.
Mm.
We may never know. Even if you get the autopsy,
My God.
they still are gone.
My God.
It's a God thing at this point.
Mm.
I'm just really starting to get that it's above me now.
My God.
It's above me now.
My God.
That takes a while, y'all. I still can't explain it. I'm grieving some people and some things, but it's above me now. And I can't, and I love to analyze. So I'm always trying to figure out why. You may not never know. We won't know until we see the Lord. We won't know.
My
we
God.
won't know. Grief is not limited to the stages of 5 words. It's not those 5. And I don't like the stages because that means that you have to go up a level or down a level.
Right.
When it's not linear. It's all over the place. I may be angry. I feel a lot of ways. We all feel a lot of ways.
My God.
So it's not that.
That's good.
Acceptance does not mean you're done grieving.
Lord have mercy.
I still miss my grandmama.
That is so good, Pastor. That's so.
I mean,
Yeah.
Because guess what? We never stop loving.
So I'm not graduating.
No, there's no graduation.
I've graduated from denial. Yeah, right. Wow.
Yeah.
That is so good.
So, and then, we got to walk through that regret. And that could be with somebody, or it could be with a therapist or somebody. But yes, we do have to walk through that to help get through, as you like to say, the task of mourning. And we have to come back. This is so much.
Family, listen, I don't know about you, but to me, I like putting a concept on a feeling. Because when I'm talking to a lot of people, even theologically and now this clinically, you know, from a therapy perspective, because a lot of times if I can conceptualize the feeling, it helps me to identify and process it and get healing from it. Like, this is complicated grief. Like, okay, they're acting the fool up there, the casket. But that's because that's complicated grief. That's regret coupled with mourning.
Could be.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, why are they acting like this? And dismissing what they're doing, not realizing there's 2 levels of pain there.
That's right.
So to be able to process things like that, I think it can perhaps expedite the pathway
Yes. That's
to
good.
get to the healing.
Yes.
But if I don't know what I'm feeling, or I can't put words to it, or have a concept to help me describe or define it, I just lost.
Yes.
Because a lot of times when I go through feelings, it's like, man, I'm feeling this way, but I can't even tell you what I'm feeling. It's just like, okay, well, this is complicated grief, or this is, or this is regret, or this is, trauma, or this is acute. Being able to put a term to see it, to identify. That's why I was trying to give you examples so that, the 2 types of grief, everything she said, because I think being able to see it up front can help us get where we need to be. And I'm just thankful. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
I was thinking about all the funerals
Yes.
that we have had the last 3 years.
I did 53 eulogies in 2021.
Yeah,
I did 53 eulogies. Me.
just
53.
I didn't even want to wear black. I promise you, I'm wearing it today. But I got to a point where I didn't even want to put on black.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we haven't even dealt with the PTSD, the trauma that has come from the pandemic, and all the lives that are lost, and us that caregive.
Have mercy.
There is something called vicarious trauma. That's secondary trauma.
Vicarious.
It's re-experiencing the trauma over and over again. We're constantly in this state of mourning, if you will, state of bereavement with people, and we don't even know the impacts of that. But that's another area that we need to cover. Just leaders in general. We're not supposed to be doing these funerals like this.
My God. Yeah.
This is what happens in combat.
Listen, this is why I sometimes I don't even try to get to some of the funerals until the grieving part is over. I know I can't take it. Yeah. So I come 15 minutes late purposely. I don't want to see. Let me remember the deceased as I saw him. I don't want to see him. I can't see people crying because it's triggering. So let me be the voice and the messenger of hope in that moment. But I know I can't handle it. It's just too. I mean, it's just all the time. People who you love and care. And it's like, man, it's like it weighs you down. You know what I mean? And so it's like, combat. It's combat.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. That's what a perfect way. Listen, I hope that you were blessed today, because she dropped some powerful concepts, some powerful truths on us, to help us to process and understand grief and loss in the most significant way. I want you to know that whatever you're facing, as I shared with you last week, that God is close to the brokenhearted. And Jesus Christ came to give us life. He said, take my yoke upon you and learn of me. I'm meek and lowly in heart. You'll find rest for your souls. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. And so I want you to know that even in these things, in these times, that his peace is made perfect. His strength is perfected in your weakness. And he'll give us perfect peace. So if you're watching today and you want to have a relationship with the Lord, who is intimately acquainted with our grief, he's a man of sorrows. Isaiah says he's acquainted with. You know what an acquaintance is? He's an acquainted. He's acquainted with grief. Jesus, is our griefs. He understands them. At all points, he was tempted like we are. Yet he was about to say he had a friend that died, that he wept at his tomb. He's acquainted with grief, and yet we did esteem him stricken. So we have someone who can relate to us. It behooves you, I think. Pastor Cross shared today can bring healing, and the thing I share hopefully can bring healing, some direction, but only Christ can bring salvation. If you want that today, I want you to get your phone and text the word salvation to the number 678-201-1351. Again, 201-1351. If you want to connect with the community so you don't get in isolation and loneliness, you told you earlier from the onset, 50% of our survival rate is based on having community. And you need a community not just familially and societally, but spiritually. We love to be your community of faith. If you're interested in connecting, whether you're in Atlanta, Alaska, Decatur, or Dubai, get your phone and text the word connect to the number 678-201-1351. Lastly, if you just want somebody to pray with you during these moments, man, woman ought to always pray and not faint. Get your phone, text the word prayer to 678-201-1351. Lastly, before Pastor Cross prays for us and gives our final prayer and closes out, maybe you want to sow a seed. You didn't know why you were tuning in today. You had no idea that we were going to put you on the couch and just have some soul food and some soul care. This was good today for the soul. It was clarifying for the mind, but it was good for the soul. So much I gleaned, I gained, and the clarity I received today that would not only help me, but now I believe I've been more empowered to help people to just sharing what you heard today can be helpful to people. Get the information, send this link to somebody. Send this link. If you haven't shared this link, that you know somebody who's going through feelings of grief and loss, share this link right now. And if you were blessed, do me a favor. Won't you sow a seed? You've been blessed by the ministry. There's a QR code on the screen. You can give today by text to give. You can give today through Cash App, through Zelle. You can give to the website by clicking the giving links and following the prompts accordingly. Or if you want to send it to the P.O. Box, our P.O. Box is 361, P.O. Box 361, 499, Decatur, Georgia, 30036. Again, P.O. Box 361, 499, Decatur, Georgia, 30036. Pastor Cross, you've been Herculean as always, and the Queen of Sheba, Deborah. This has been just a major, major time of clarity, and you blessed our souls today.
Praise
and
God.
enlighten our minds and bless our souls. You have a final word, and then give us a closing word of prayer, please.
I just want to encourage you to, as Pastor said, look at the resources that we have. Do go to grief.com. David Kessler does a great job at just explaining grief. He's been working with grief for years. He talks about loss of kids and children, even if someone has unalived themselves. He deals with that as well. So please check out that resource, and let's go before the Father. So, God, we just thank you, Lord, for who you are. You're great. You are mighty. You are majestic.
Thank you, Lord.
You, Father, said that you will be with us even until the end of the earth. Lord, I thank you that you are with us. You will never leave us nor forsake us. God, I thank you just for
Hallelujah.
That person today that is feeling like they're lonely, like they don't have anyone. I thank you that you know them. You
Glory.
knew them while they were even yet unformed substances. You knew them while they were in their mother's womb. You know every hair that's numbered on their head. God, I thank you, God, that you have all of their days planned, and you have a plan for them to prosper and to bring them to an expected end.
Yes,
so I pray, God, that they would feel your presence, that they would know that you are with them everywhere. I pray that their soul would know right well, and that they would be able to praise you out the abundance of their soul. Lord, I lift up those that are mourning, those who are in bereaved and even grief states, even now. If this is your first or second or maybe 10th year without your family member during these holiday seasons, I pray, God, that you would give that person peace that surpasses all human understanding, that would guard their heart and their minds. Pray, God, that you would give their family peace. I pray that they will remember the life of that person.
Yes, Lord.
Not just that moment of transitioning, but the life that that person left, the legacy and the lessons. Lord, I pray, God, that you would give them what they need and that they can focus their attention there. Give them what they need even now. Pray that a reminder will come this time next week that will remind them of the goodness of you and the goodness of that person that they're missing. So, God, I pray that you just love on them and give them peace, give them love, and give them hope. In Jesus' name, amen, amen, and amen.
Hey, man, we got to leave you now. What a blessing day. Share this link, please. Hit the like button, share this link, subscribe, leave your comments. We got to leave you now. But as always, remember this. If you will be good to God, God will be good to you. Till next time, you can make it. He'll give you life. Peace. Much love.
Family, we are back and here to keep you all informed.
Yes, and let me do a little head count right here, Crystal. Now, how many of you were here last Wednesday to experience a super impactful First Wednesday Live Life Night? There's a few people didn't raise their hands. So Pastor Smith began the exciting new Advent season series, Labor Pains, last week, and it was live here and in person. And while this Wednesday on the 13th will actually be online only. So remember, we only meet in person on the first Wednesdays of every month, and the remaining Wednesdays of every month are virtual and presented primarily through Hope Global. So join us online this Wednesday as Pastor Smith delves even deeper into the holiday season labor pains of grief, stress, and loneliness. What do the lonely do at you don't want to miss this exciting lesson. Now, you want to tune in at 12 noon or 7 p.m. online to be a part of our Biblecast that's online as well in that experience. Also, remember to join our Zoom discussions this Thursday, the 14th, along with next Monday, the 18th, and Tuesday, the 19th, for more interactive conversations surrounding the Labor Pain series. Do not miss out.
Very good. Now, we also need you to save the date for our annual church conference. It's scheduled for Wednesday, December 20th at 7 o'clock p.m. in the atrium. Learn about Pastor Smith's vision for 2024 and our annual budget review. Immediately following the church conference, we are going to have our annual vision board party. The road to fulfilling your dreams starts at our annual vision board party. We are going to have an amazing time as usual. We need you to do two things. Bring your dreams and your magazines, and we'll supply everything else.
I like that. Dreams magazine.
Yeah.
You got dreams magazines.
Do people still have magazines?
That ain't your business. Just bring them. This goes out to all of our global church family members that are watching. We are so thankful that you rock with us online every week, and we want you to know that we are actually here for you. So if you need prayer, all you have to do is text the word prayer. If you would like to be saved, text the word salvation. And if you want to become a member of the House of Hope Atlanta, all you have to do is text the word connect to 678-201-1351.
Now, we are done for now. Oh, my goodness. But until next time, remember that life with God is better in every way, every day. Be blessed.
Now, you said that people don't have magazines.
I just asked. I said, do they? I didn't say they didn't.
But they got dreams.
Yes. Bring them.
You got big dreams. And dreams start here in sweat.
Okay, fame.
That's fame, man.
I knew it.
But bring your magazines if you can find some. Barnes and Nobles, the grocery store, they got magazines, don't they?
People want to spend their money. Never mind.
Don't do that.
I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. Magazines and dreams. That's all you need. Let's go.
Now you got your vision fulfilled, and you don't try to crush somebody else.
Bye, you guys.